I've done it more than 340 times in my insane career, and it never gets old. But this one was special. It was Friday, March 20, 2020, the first day of California's coronavirus lockdown order. And in that one day, I had begun and wrapped principal photography on my new feature film, Corona Zombies. Look, by the time you listen to this, there will be a lot of entertainment that uses our worldwide pandemic nightmare as a backdrop. There will be very special episodes of popular sitcoms that take place during lockdown. There will be important documentaries. There will be feature films that use COVID-19 as a device. Romantic comedies where the couple getting a divorce have to shelter together and rediscover why they loved each other in the first place. Brad Pitt or Meryl Streep or, I don't know, maybe Kristen Stewart in unconvincing scientist glasses may have already collected an Oscar for their brilliant portrayal of the heroic researcher who battled the odds and the damn bureaucrats and found the cure. And that's fine. All I know is that long before that, on April 10th, 2020, just as people were adjusting to the quarantine and looking for something to stream, Full Moon Features released Corona Zombies. That, my friends, is the very definition of an exploitation film. It takes whatever you're thinking about right now, the thing that's in the wind, and recontextualizes it as a piece of entertainment. Quick, silly, down and dirty. It gives you a thrill, a scare, and hopefully a few good laughs. Long before the corporate behemoths can get something approved and written and rewritten and negotiated and shot and edited and slotted into their schedules, we true independents have already gone ahead and made something, released it, and moved on to whatever the next thing is. I guarantee that by the time Meryl Streep accepts her award, I will have made at least a dozen more movies. And aside, the term exploitation movies makes it sound like someone is being exploited. In case you're new to this stuff, no. What's being exploited is an opportunity, a cultural or historical moment. No actors or actresses are harmed in the making of these motion pictures. In fact, if they're on my sets, they're generally having a blast. But, he stammered in his thick Eastern European accent as he interviewed me for Germany's edition of Rolling Stone. But why does she take the shower in her clothes? A fair question. Showering while fully clothed would look weird in any movie, and Corona Zombies was a full moon feature, so there's kind of an expectation of a little tasteful nudity. That's a really good question, Horst, I said, though I have no memory as to whether his name was actually Horst. Just go with it. I went on. The truth is that we figured that Barbie's character was so ditzy that she misinterpreted the rules about how you were supposed to deal with washing after you went out. Ah, I see. That makes sense. But it didn't really. The explanation was a lie. Or at least it wasn't the whole truth. I was doing like 5 Zoom interviews a day to promote Corona Zombies, and I didn't have time to get into the full story of the surprisingly chaste shower scene. That full story requires knowledge of the insane timeline of how Corona Zombies came to be. Madness, utter madness. Thursday, March 12, 2020. Billy Butler and I were having dinner at Boa on Sunset, right where West Hollywood becomes Beverly Hills. Billy's a friend and one of my top collaborators, actor, writer, director. I first used him in 1987 on Ghoulies 2. He came up with the story for the first Ginger Dead Man. Starring Gary Busey. Jesus, there are some stories there. The place was empty because people were already freaking out about the coming pandemic. Bright side, great service. We were desperately trying to figure out something we could do during the impending shutdown of life as we know it. I'd been watching what was happening with COVID-19 in Italy. More than most Americans because I grew up in Italy, on the sets of epics and spaghetti westerns made by guys like John Huston and my dad, Albert Band. I will supply a metric ton of crazy stories about that later, but for now, all you need to know is that I'm deeply connected to Italy. They had just gotten absolutely gobsmacked by the coronavirus. And I knew it would be as bad or worse here, because if we're ever called upon, we Americans can and will rise to the occasion and be stupider than absolutely anybody. So I wanted to figure out a way to keep working. For more than 45 years, I've been making movies in Hollywood and Rome and Romania. That's what animates me. I'm not going to let a little thing like a deadly plague stop me. Or am I? Billy and I were at a loss, or at least I was. Billy pitched me an idea about repurposing my old movies, dubbing in new, funny dialogue, like in What's Up, Tiger Lily. That sounded fun, but not nearly fresh enough for my fans. They'd already seen...